is controlled by me. Just imagine it was your own higher self talking to you. Your behavior is controlled by me automatically as soon as you place what you think under my guidance. So the way that you control somebody's behavior is for them to place the way they think under your guidance. So if I want to control your behavior, all you have to do is say, I'm going to do what you say. In other words, you're allowing my thoughts to guide you. And when you allow my thought to guide you, I'm controlling your behavior. Does that make sense to everybody? So whenever you allow your higher self to guide you, that's when you can say your behavior is now being controlled by God. Your behavior is being controlled by love when you listen to the guidance that love is giving you. So this is controlling my behavior when I use this thought system to behave the way it says. So when you say you want to surrender, you're talking about, I want to allow something greater than my own thinking to guide me, and I'm going to do what it says. Most truth students, including myself at times, we hear the thought system, but we don't do what it says. So we'll get frustrated like it's somehow letting us down, but the truth is, if it says, when someone attacks you, see it as a call for love. And I've heard that, but then when someone attacks me, I say, you low down dog, I want to kick your butt. I am not following guidance. So therefore, they're going to probably attack me back. And I go, well, I went to the course class today, but I had this big run-in with somebody. Well, it was a reflection of me not practicing the truth in that moment. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the big shift is when I surrender. And that's what I'm working on within myself right now. I'm working on surrendering to that which I see as my own divine guidance and my own divine nature. What it tells me to do, I'm going to try to do it to the best of my ability. And if I don't, I'm going to not beat myself up about that, because my God is not about condemnation and punishment. So I don't even have to feel bad about making a mistake. I just have to ask for correction. So it's even okay for me to make a mistake and don't always do it right. Being in the kind of role that I do as a teacher that's just trying to remember the truth, I have a tendency to create a reality where people have a hard time dealing with my humanity. So therefore, if I'm angry, or if I get upset, or if I'm afraid, if I'm anything other than perfect Jesus Christ type dude, people have a tendency to like freak out. Okay? And so what's really important is that sometimes in order to change, sometimes you have to put yourself around people who don't see you as a role, so that however you show up, they can accept it. Because you're just as human as they are. And it's kind of hard to do that when you play this kind of role in the world. But it's so many benefits to it, I do it anyway. But there are also some things about it that suck, which is people project on you really, really easy. You become like this blank slate that everybody projects their stuff on. And sometimes because people see you as a safe, peaceful person, they feel actually safer to attack. Or that they can tell you stuff because you're not going to react the way an ordinary person would react. So they'll feel freer to put their stuff on you. And then act freaked out if you respond, because you're supposed to be so spiritual you don't get upset about what they did. So if you study the course, you've been studying the course this long and you still get upset about you'll find it out in your relationships if you study the truth a lot. Your own friends and partners will sometimes go, oh, well, you've been studying this course stuff. I see you still getting all upset with me about blah, 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 blah. The ego would try to use your own path against you. When you get serious about this, your whole life is going to change. Everything is going to shift. You're going to start freaking out because things are going to change when you really start practicing this. I promise you. It may look like it gets worse sometimes before it gets better. Sorry, I wish I could say it doesn't look that way. You know why? Not because it has to, but because we fight so hard at the beginning. We make it hard at the beginning. It's not. So that's what the Course is saying here. He says, whenever you are afraid, I love this line, whenever you are afraid, it's a sure sign that you have allowed your mind to miscreate and haven't allowed me to guide it. So whenever I'm afraid, I'm not letting God guide me. Whenever I'm afraid, I'm not letting love guide me. Whenever I'm afraid, I'm not listening to my guidance. Whenever I'm afraid, I'm not listening to my guidance. Whenever I'm afraid, why did those miners on the ground be able to last 66 days, 2,000 feet under the ground? you know, it's because they didn't feel like they were alone. It's because they were allowing the people on the surface to guide their experience. Take this, do that, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, y'all need to make these arrangements. They followed guidance, and they kept their sanity for 66 days underground. Had they been down there by themselves trying to figure it out, they'd probably all be like dead right now. So that's what the Course is telling us. It's telling us that if you're afraid right now, you're not listening to home base. You're not listening to your guidance. You're listening to things you're making up. Do you hear that, Earl? Mm-hmm. Yes, I hear that. Thank you. That was one paragraph. Everything I just got through talking about was in that one paragraph. That's how deep the Course in Miracles is. It will condense more things in one paragraph than most books say in 300 pages. So what was the point of that whole paragraph? The point is, I'm responsible for what I think. That I got to stop saying I can't help myself. And I got to listen to the guidance and let the guidance tell me what to do and do it. That's how I get out of fear. That we just got the answer to whatever you're feeling afraid about, or whatever I'm feeling afraid about. So what does that mean? I'm feeling some fear. You know, there's a part of me that has some anxiety about going to London Tuesday. The ego world tries to give you lots of things to have anxiety about, like presidents coming online and saying there's a terrorist warning, or just the whole idea of going to something totally new and something different that you've never been before. I don't know if y'all have ever had that experience before, but sometimes I experience anxiety about certain things. Anybody else here ever experienced anxiety? Okay, so I'm not by myself. You all have experienced anxiety at some time in your life about something. Okay, all right. Okay, so how do I get rid of my anxiety? Well, the way I get rid of my anxiety is what? First of all, take responsibility that my anxiety is coming from what I'm telling myself. The next thing I need to do is tell myself that the way I'm behaving is coming from what I'm telling myself. Then the Course just told me that my behavior could be controlled by the Holy Spirit as soon as I start thinking what it's telling me to think and let it guide me through this experience. Then my fear will go away. So what do I need to do? I need to work on my ability to hear that communication. I need to learn some French. And what is learning some French? Reading the book, seeing what it says, and being able to tell myself what it's telling me I should tell myself when I'm feeling fear. I wouldn't know that if I didn't read the book. I would know what to tell myself if I wasn't reading. And when I say the book, I mean my path. You would have your path. It might be this, it might be something else. But you would go to your path. You wouldn't go to your mind that makes it up as it goes along. Do you think your path would be something that you would resist all the time, or do you think your path would be something that you would feel inspired by, even though you might have some little stress every now and then because you are hearing something very different? Who can tell me? Would your path be something you were forcing yourself to do, or would your path be something that inspired you?
Inspired.
Okay. So if the Course in Miracles path, for instance, if it doesn't inspire you, then it's probably not your path. I would invite you to get on a path that inspires you. Because sometimes it's the only thing that makes you feel good. When the world is coming at you at your request, really, really tough, it's only your path that will make you go, oh man, okay, I can deal with this, I can make another day. But if you don't even like your own friggin' path, where do you go? You already, you don't like what the world is giving you, but yet your path, you go, oh my God, I can't do, that's not your path. Even at the risk of losing people, it's not your path. I want you to be happy. I want you to be inspired. I want you to do something that turns you on, that moves your heart, your soul. It's really been a trippy thing putting these classes on the internet, like video on the class and put them on the internet. But it's like, there are now over 2,000 people listening to these classes all over the world, because I can see they send you statistics. And I get more comments and responses from what I'm saying from out of town than in town. I'm watching the Holy Spirit extend this teaching ministry far beyond the boundaries of this class. And then I'm watching invitations come to me to go do those. That's how I ended up in London. Because of a video. So what I'm saying is, if you don't fulfill your function, if you don't do what you came here to do, you cut yourself off from so many opportunities that could come your way. Because each one of you have a special function that nobody else can feel but you. And if you do that, all the stuff you're wondering about, it'll show up. All the stuff that you want to have happen to you, it will show up. And yes, you'll still go through some anxiety sometimes. And yes, you'll still go through some confusion sometimes. And yes, I go through all those things sometimes. The only difference is when they come up, I know what's in my medicine cabinet and I know to go to it. That's the only difference I see between myself and anybody else. I'll go through my stuff, I'll go to my path for help. They'll go through their stuff and they'll try to figure it out on their own. Get a path. It'll make your life 1,000,000 times easier. Get something that you believe in is greater than your own ego. It doesn't have to be the Course in Miracles. I promise you it doesn't have to be the Course in Miracles. But it needs to be something beside you making up the truth as you go along. Trial and error. And how do you know you haven't reached your path yet? You're still jumping around from one thing to another. And you should keep on checking out many different things until you find your thing. And then when you find your thing, commit to it for at least 90 days. For 90 days, go, I'm not going to read anything else. I'm not going to study anything else but this for 90 days. Because one of the tricks that the mind plays is to have you studying 6 different paths simultaneously that often have things that contradict each other. Pick out the parts that you like and then make up your own thought system around that. But the truth is, you've left out everything that was dealing with your issues. That's why you picked the part that you like, because the other stuff was making you have to deal. That's why you got the resistance. It was like, ooh, well, okay. So I'm not saying you should necessarily focus on something you don't like, but ask yourself, why am I feeling so much resistance around this issue? Why am I feeling so much resistance around this statement? So in order to find your path, continue to be open to checking out new books, new teachers, new things. Go ahead and have 100 different things you're looking at. But as soon as you find the one that you go, well, that's what it was with the Course. It was like, I had done a lot of metaphysical stuff. I was a New Age, I had a black belt in metaphysical books. Okay, so I had hundreds of metaphysical books. But when I got to the Course, it wasn't that it was saying something I hadn't heard in other books. What made it my path was this one quality. I wanted to do it. I wanted to actually do what it said. That's how I knew it was my path. All the rest of the stuff, I would read it and go, oh, that's fascinating. That's really great. Man, that's interesting. Bloop, put it on the shelf, and then now let me read, the next book. Oh, wow, that's really, man, have you read this? Whoa, have you read this book? Bloop, read it. Bloop, then get another one. But I wasn't applying any of it. I was just reading, getting information. When I got to the Course, it was like, whoa. That's what I'm here for right now. And I will let this go when I'm given the next thing. So I'm not like addicted to the Course. I'll let it go too when it's time. But I know it's not time. Why? Because I want to do it and it inspires me. And something else. I've seen miracles in the last 30 years. Bona fide miracles. Things that I couldn't even begin to say my ego personality made happen. That's another thing that you can tell about your path. When you get on your path, your life will seem to become, for want of a better word, magical. When you get on your path, you will find things getting handled and taken care of in ways you would never have dreamed of on your own. When you get on your path, you do not feel alone again in the things that you're going through. You can feel the presence of guidance with you and help with you when it's your path, because you've learned that language and now you're being communicated with. Does it make sense? You had your hand up a second ago.
Yeah, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
You said whenever...
Let me pass this around too, so you can get on the contact list so I can send you links to the video classes. Mm-hmm.
You said that when you're afraid, you're not listening to your own guidance. I guess, and I'm sure it's in the book, I don't own the book, but what happens when you have circumstances that warrant fear? And I know that for me, they've influenced my behaviors and my actions since then.
Right. Okay, here you go. Here's what came to me from it. If you have chosen to react with fear, then it's a way that your fear can be used to direct you to ultimately go to love. In other words, yeah, I've done that too. You've been motivated to change by fear, and you changed. great. What the course is saying is you can be motivated.